Welcome back to Desk Talks. I'm Rob, the CEO here at Dynamic Educational Solutions. I am joined by my brother and COO, Chase. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Dude, I'm great. You gave me the hot mic. I'm in charge, so I get to steer the ship on this on my second go around. Hopefully, it's better than the first. But before we dive in, I do want to let everyone know, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, our hearts go out and our prayers go out to the individuals in North Carolina that are currently being impacted by the flooding from Hurricane Helene. I know there's quite a few individuals who are completely cut off from the world, which was eye-opening for me to find out yesterday. And so, be on the lookout. If there's a way to help, please be willing and able, or if you're able, be willing to do so.
Well, we know that we are so outside of the East Coast now that a lot of
Yep.
our news is kind of filtered. By the time it gets to us, and I know, for me, I know I was watching Asheville still came up on the news cycle this morning. How about how they're cut off?
Yep.
Um,
I
and our
think they're
hearts go
doing.
out to you. If there's anybody else, I mean, that's just Asheville. That was a big town. I'm sure there's more, right? So everybody out there, just keep these people in. Gosh, I hate saying it, but your thoughts and prayers. That's gotten so watered down, but it really does help. We put people in our thoughts. That means that we're making actions because they're in the forethought of our brain. That means that we're going to make decisions based on what our thought processes are. So, a little psychology this morning.
Well said. And I do know there are quite a few little towns. If I'm not mistaken, I read they're doing like airdrops. They're dropping MREs in to
Oh
these
my
people
gosh.
because they can't get food. They don't have power. Some don't have cell service. Clearly, no
Yeah.
internet, so there's no way to reach out and contact. It's a scary situation, man. And so I think they told us it's North Carolina's version of Katrina, and most of us
Yeah.
remember what that was like. And
Yeah.
so, our hearts and prayers go out to you. You are at the top of our minds, and if anybody listening has a way for DES or us as individuals to be involved and help in any way, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to do so. Anything else you want to touch on that, Bubba?
No,
Okay.
I do know that we still have communities there in Georgia that are getting affected. We hear you. What we're telling you is like all the way up and down the East Coast. We're here for you, and however we can be.
Yep.
Right now,
Absolutely.
we're trying to do it by raising awareness, right? So, hey, if you are not aware of the hurricane that came through, pull your head out of the sand. We got most of the eastern board is getting slammed. Tennessee's getting rocked. Southern and eastern Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina seems to get to us to get the most press right now because it seems to be the most dire. But we're thinking about you. Stay safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think they've deployed the National Guard. I think I read 10,000 National
No,
Guards,
thank
men and women,
goodness.
are out there doing what they can to get to
Doing what
these
they do.
individuals. Yep.
That's what the
Yep.
National Guard does. This is what
Yes,
they're
sir.
good at, man. I love the fact that they call the National Guard in. They are proven to be very effective
Yep.
at getting there quickly and setting things up. So it's very good.
Yep. I agree. All right. Well, there you go. We our hearts and minds are with you right now during this time, but let's get into our topic today, Chase. And I kind of softballed this to you like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
We're
literally.
we're sitting around trying to think of, gosh, well, what gets us excited? And we were talking about politics and what have you. And I don't want to get into that discussion in detail here, but I asked the question of what does it mean to you to be well-rounded? And what I mean, if I can, for just a second, let me couch this, is what does it mean to be a well-rounded individual, both personally and professionally? Uh, and so I kind of want to pick your brain on that. So I'll let you take that away for just a minute.
Yeah, that's a great question. It was T-balled up, like you said about 10 minutes ago. So, like, as it's been
Yep.
racing through my brain, I love this conversation because I feel like this, in our circle of conversations, this topic is coming up, and I feel like it hits back to what is normal, right? And you're
Yeah.
coming back to seeing some of this extremism. Some of the best friends that I have, are good people, but I wouldn't say are experts in anything, but they're well balanced. They have hobbies, they have interests that are outside of their work.
Mm.
They actually break up. One of my mentors and good friends has been helping me break up my days into mini days, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I love the way his
What does
brain
that mean?
works. My friend's an engineer, and so
Okay.
he approaches life a little differently, in my opinion.
Wait,
So he sets
wait.
himself
Hold on,
up.
hold on. Pause. I thought I was your friend.
I'm allowed to have more than one friend.
I
Okay.
We didn't agree to that.
And in our friendship agreement pact, we did not specify that I have to ask permission before reaching out and starting and establishing new relationships.
Well, you can anticipate an addendum coming, but I apologize. Keep going.
All right, Sheldon.
Bazinga.
But go back to it. My friend's an engineer, and he has a very unique way of setting out his days. He works from home by himself, and he has a family of three kids and a wife, and he breaks his day down into 4-hour increments. So that
Okay.
is a day. He considers that to be a day. So his first shift that he puts in of 4 hours, like he'll sit down and break down that 4 hours, and then the next 4 hours. Let's say his day starts, for example, starts at 6. He'll have a 6 to 10 block, a 10 to 2 block, a 2 to 6 block. And these areas, he has decided what works best for him is to be intentional with his time.
Mm.
So inside that first 4 hours of the day, he doesn't work. Like, he focuses on his family, he focuses on himself, he focuses on, and he breaks down that 4 hours. And then he comes back from that 10 to 2 and he's very focused. Like, he considers that to either be work that he needs to get done, or he works on, a hobby or some other facet of himself for 4 hours. Then he comes back and he gets work done for that, for the next four. Does that make sense? So it's a very interesting way of breaking up his day
What
in a
time does
way
this
that,
dude wake up?
I, and we talk in generalities, right? So this guy's a little odd, right? Because I'm actually moving into this as I'm getting a little bit older and a little bit more excited that it's actually working for me. But he goes to bed at 9 o'clock and he gets
Okay.
up at 4:30, and his day starts at 4:30.
Gross.
And he will get up, he will start with exercise, and then he comes back and he cooks, breakfast and gets the kids out the door, gets the kids to school, gets his wife to work, and then he will sit down and he'll read. That's what he shared with me. He reads for about 90 minutes. And then he will roll over and work for the next 4 hours. And then the next 4 hours, he's prepping dinner, looking into things that interest him at the time. He's not a big sports guy. He's not a big physical fitness guy, but he really enjoys, uh, gaming and
Yeah.
puzzling.
Yeah.
So he spends time on that. He does his gaming, does his puzzling,
I like
and
that,
then the
man.
next block is set up for the next day and spending time for family and getting set up for the next day.
So he's not.
Absolutely love it.
He's not wasting his time staring
No,
at a
he's
computer screen.
very efficient, right?
I like
And
that.
that's where I look at it and I go, well, he is well balanced, but he's very extreme, in his discipline of his time,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know. So I
That's a
think,
skill set.
right. I,
Yeah.
I agree. I think this is
Yeah.
something that he's been honing since he was a kid, and
Yeah.
it's admirable, but it's very hard to think, how you become that well rounded without having that kind of discipline, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm
and
listening
well
to you
rounded
talk.
people.
Go ahead.
You're listening to me talk?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're
I
good.
was listening to you talk, thinking to myself, well, golly, how do I apply that to my life? How can I break my
Right.
life into 4-hour sections? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I feel as though I'm a pretty disciplined individual, but I don't know if I have discipline like that.
Well, discipline's different for everybody, right? I mean, so uh, let's just take let's just take me for instance. Like I'm very disciplined whenever it comes to work, like physical labor, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
very good whenever you give me and that was probably my military training that has got me
Hmm.
very good at
Yeah. Go worker bee.
attacking. Yeah, being a good worker bee, right? But what do I have, other problems with? It's, taking care of myself. Like I'm not very disciplined in my hobbies,
Mm.
right? And filling myself out and making myself, like I say to my son, making myself interesting because nobody likes a boring person. If you're only a one-sided die, that's not very fun to play with.
That's true. And I mean, that's the overall. I mean, that's a part of what we're talking about today, being well rounded. Because it's easy to lose yourself in, like, I'm a dad. I can be just a dad. I can be just a husband, or lose yourself in work and be, have work be my identity or be your identity. Uh, but I like what your buddy does, man. He has hobbies. He's an
Yeah,
interesting guy. Sounds like
he's a
somebody you could have a
very interesting
conversation with.
person. Yeah, he's very interesting, and I love him to death. He's a very interesting person and a lover of our podcast. So thanks for listening, my man. I won't name you out here. I'm not giving away your secret sauce, but that is how I view you. So if you're listening, that's a little insight of how I view you as a friend.
You know, what got my mind on the topic is I went to a business development luncheon last week. You remember
Yeah,
I came back and I told you about it because I was excited to go and you were excited to hear about it.
absolutely.
How'd it go, man? Uh, and the conversations were just they're boring. Like there was no human element to the conversation. And I understand it's a business development group, right? But we're still sitting around having lunch. But the only thing everybody wants to talk about is their work, which is great, and there's a place for it. But I feel like, hey, dude, you and I have been in meetings. Whenever we ask, hey, how's your day going? Did you have a
Yeah,
good weekend?
yeah,
Just heard you got back on vacation. How was that? You know, and
yeah.
and they don't know how to
Yep.
respond.
Heard that you just had a birthday party the other day. That is awesome. How was it? Saw on
Yeah,
social where you guys were out here doing this. How was that? That looked amazing.
yeah, yeah. Well, no one
You're
knows how to
more than
respond.
just you're a human, right? You're
Yeah,
not a
right. Yeah.
machine.
Like, and I asked one of the dudes at this lunch. I was like, man, what does your day look like? Well, wake up in the morning, get the kids ready, go into work from about you know 8 to 6. Right? He's a business owner. Like he's putting in a little
Yeah.
longer day than normal. I work 8 to 6. I go home, eat dinner, hang out with the wife, and that's kind of it, man. And I'm like,
Go back to
I'm
work.
listening to it, going, golly, where are you living in that? Like you're not living, man. You're surviving. Like that's not right. And I said, well, what do you do when you get home? I sit on my phone, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, right? And I'm not, before I say what I'm about to say, I am not trying to say that Chase and I are the shining example here of well
No.
roundedness. Um, but I was thinking about that and it made me kind of do a little bit of introspective. I was thinking, well, what
Yeah.
do I do? I do the same thing. Do the same thing he did. I'm too tired at the end of the day to go out in the workshop and work on a new skill or do something to
Or
elevate
oh my
myself.
gosh. So if desk talkers, y'all gonna we moved up to Kansas City probably about 4 years ago. And one of my wife and I's biggest complaints about each other is that we don't get out and socialize. Like, who has
Yeah.
time for that as an adult? Oh my gosh, I am so exhausted by the time it comes to happy hour to go and meet people. But it's important. It's
Yep.
on the other side of that, it's important. It's good for us to get out and socialize and looking at our kids and showing, or not our kids, but our young adults or soon to be adults,
Mm-hmm.
and showing them what right looks like. Showing them that it's okay to take 30 minutes out of your day, 30 minutes out of your day, and do something for you.
Yes.
Completely selfish. It's called self-care. If you're in the counseling world or if you're in the psychology, we consider that to be self-care. That's positive psychology. We're being kind to ourselves and to others.
Yeah. And self-care doesn't have to be an entire day. I feel like we live in a world of extremes. And a
Oh
previous
my gosh,
employer of
right?
mine, like they gave self-care days. And I'm like, well, what's that?
What is
Because
that?
after sitting around doing what I want to do for an hour, I'm like, all right, well, I'm ready to go back to work. Like,
Right. Yeah, and that was fun. I've taken care
yeah,
of me, and
exactly. Like, all
now we're
right,
back. Yeah, all
uh-huh,
right. Thanks for the time. You had a
yeah,
whole day.
yeah. Well, now
I appreciate
now
that.
I do have a suggestion for everyone. If you do have a full day for yourself, something that I find interesting, and I hope that you would too. If you have a self-care day and you're just like, I don't know what to do with myself, I'm going to tell you. You go to the store, get yourself a good snack, get yourself a good drink, find a
What are you
comfortable spot.
prescribing?
No, hang on. Find a comfortable spot where you can lay out in the sunshine. I recommend going outside. Uh, Take your phone, download Spotify, and then play Desktop's playlist. I don't know of a better way to spend a self-care day.
Amen. On a
No,
serious note, anybody out there, I don't think we here at Desk Talk, this is something that you guys could teach us. If you have self care days or a mental health day or however you want to call it,
yeah,
right? How do you spend those? That is something that we don't do well. That is something that we are working on here at DES, which is work life balance, which
yeah,
is something that we have a hard time with. So if you're in our community of desk talkers and you have some thoughts and opinions about this, we have a chat feature or a comments feature. There you go, a
sure
comments
do.
feature at the bottom of Spotify. We also have a comments feature on Facebook, right? On all of our socials. Let us know.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know, how can we be better? How can we teach others? And if you are a psychology major, counseling major, anything like that, hey, we'd love to hear it. Bring it in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
like,
Well, we want to hear from you.
let's engage this is not the way I saw the conversation going today, but hey, it's one that is absolutely needed. And you and I've talked about that 1,000 times. It is absolutely needed. I
Yeah,
feel like in
it is.
2024, we have gotten away from the idea of good work-life balance. And we have gotten into this idea that we are not of value if we are not busy or working.
Ooh, ooh. You're absolutely
And
right.
oh my gosh, where I do applaud all you high achievers. I'm looking and I'm talking to one right now. I appreciate all you high achievers, but man, sometimes I just want to hear about what you did exciting.
No
Like, I don't
kidding.
want to hear
Be
about
human.
your work. I want to hear about how, you went on a hike this weekend, or I want to hear about how my wife and I just went to the Renaissance Fair. I went to my very first Renaissance Fair this last Sunday, and it was amazing. I have never been to a Renaissance Fair. It was tons of fun. I had mead for the first time, and those who have had mead will tell you it doesn't come in a large glass for a reason. I had to
Oh,
have the wife
really?
take the keys. Yeah, the mead that they were serving, at least here, which I didn't know, and I ordered a large, a larger glass of it, and it's
Sure.
16 to 17%. And like, I did not realize that, and I was drinking it like it was, because it was so good. It was like a honey something. It tasted amazing. It
16
crept
to
me.
17% fun by volume?
Fun by volume, yeah, fun by
Yeah.
volume.
Yeah. Now,
it
now,
was it
granted,
was strong.
I was about to say you have two non-drinkers on this podcast, so
Yeah,
that probably
yeah.
would.
It
I
was
hear you. I hear you.
I'm a social drinker, okay, guys. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to
yeah.
go out and have a beer now. Nowadays I like to go out and have beer with friends, and maybe have a drink. And I went with my wife and had a drink, and whew, it was a
Gotcha.
drink. It was good though. It was a good time. But uh, go out there, make you guys self interesting there, Dust Talkers. There's more than one ways of doing that. You don't have to absolutely go to a Renaissance fair, but I recommend it.
I want to go.
Yeah,
Melissa and I've talked about going quite a few times. I should. I should just go. But you made a good point about working. Work is necessary, right? Affords you to do things in life. Blah blah blah. Everybody does. We also know things are getting more expensive, and so that I'll just from our perspective, you and I've talked about it. It makes me want to work harder, so that way we can
yes,
continue to do. But inside of that hard work, there's a litany of things that come along with it, and I'm not going to sit here and list them all. But I mean, you got to take care of yourself. That's important, and if you're working really hard, which I hope everyone is, I applaud you, and I'm sure you're appreciated for your hard work. But make sure you're enjoying your hard work too, and that's a lesson that took me a long time to learn. Because I was of the mindset of, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to grind, I'm going to get promoted, I'm going to do all these things so that way I can afford. My kids want to go to Disneyland, so I can take my kids to Disneyland, so I can buy my wife a new car. But nowhere in there did I talk about doing things for myself.
I want to work hard so I can get a boat. Man, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, I've told you that for
Probably
a
never
decade.
happen. My wife won't let me see. My wife won't let me be that happy. So.
Oh my God, get out.
I'm just joking, Elizabeth.
Get
I'm
out.
just teasing.
I love you. No, but self-care is important, and that does make you a well-rounded individual. And we're all getting back into the common workplace as we used to know it prior to COVID. And wouldn't it be awesome if you were an interesting individual who didn't spend 16 hours a day on TikTok? So we could have a real human conversation. Which,
instead of you
by the way,
talking about the reels that you saw somebody else living their life, and you're talking about how much they're living their life. That is one thing that I will never get over.
No kidding, man. And I know we send those things to each other, but dang, it's cool to watch people go and hike a mountain, and I want to see that, but I want to do it too.
Yep.
I don't know. Live
I
your
just
life.
want to know where I need to go.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
there, Dust Stalkers. We appreciate you joining in on this conversation. Hope that you got something out of it. And make sure that you drop us a like, share, a comment this week. Let us know what you think. What do you do for self-care? That's what we want to know. What do you do for time off? What do you do to make yourself interesting? So hit us up. Let us know what you do. And the most common thing, we'll absolutely blast it on our socials so that we can all grow from this. Because we can't be the only two people here, Rob, that don't know what to do with ourselves for self-care and what you do on a day off. So throw us some good ideas out there, Dust Talkers. And until next time.